I do want women to know that there is an alternative to suppressing their bodies with hormones, that they can see their body as a good and they can live in that body holistically. Totally. Oh my gosh. It's amazing.
I don't think I could live my whole life knowing this and not sharing it with anyone. Hello, everyone. Jamie here with the Hormone Genius Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Teresa Kenny, and we are so excited to welcome Christin Willis. Christin Willis and her husband, Jacob Willis, are the married couple behind We Heart Nutrition. So if you've been listening to us for any length of time, especially this past year, you've likely heard We Heart Nutrition before. We Heart Nutrition is a supplement company that partnered with the Hormone Genius, and for very good reason. And I know by the end of this episode, you'll come to your own conclusions about why we chose We Heart Nutrition to partner with. We're going to talk to Christin, who is the mother of 5, and her husband, like I said, founded this company, and they're very passionate about creating the highest quality research-backed supplements for women and now even for men. And again, we're just so excited, Christin, to have you on our show today to talk about the importance of quality supplements.
Absolutely. So excited to be here. I love your guys' podcast and everything that you share. I feel like just a little sponge, always taking in what you guys are sharing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christin. It means a lot that you set aside time to follow and listen to us. So that's a big compliment. We're just going to kick it right off, Christin. What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes or even lies that consumers are told when it comes to taking and buying supplements?
Yeah, I think there are a few different things that come to mind. First of all, a one size fits all or a one capsule a day is just something that now that I'm in the industry, I have realized it's not possible to get everything that you need to fill in your nutrient gaps in one capsule per day. So that is something we launched early on. We really kind of shared that and made that a big part of our website of going, here's what you can fit into one capsule, and here's what you really need. And initially we started with prenatal, but that's honestly true across the board. Whether you are just on a standard women's multi, whether you are in perimenopause, postmenopause, it's really, really difficult to get everything that you need. So that was one thing that we educated a lot on. And then kind of just the one size fits all approach. We've realized at every stage, there are little unique differences in what women need for their hormones, what they need for their bone health. And so that's been something that we've done, I hope, a good job of communicating on our website and through our quiz. Just go on here, answer a few questions, and we can really help tailor exactly what you might need based on your age, based on your life stage, and based on even what you eat. There's some questions in there, do you eat fish? Are you getting your omega-3s? And so I think a lot of people just assume, I can just go to the grocery store, I can buy some, one a day vitamin, and I'm going to be good to go. Honestly, there's so much more I could say, but that's why when people switch to our company or another high quality company, there's other high quality companies, they notice a difference, honestly, within 3 days, because what they were taking from the grocery store had low quality ingredients, wasn't truly filling those nutrient gaps. So that's one thing that I feel has spoken for itself, is just the reviews, the quality of the products, and how people feel pretty quickly.
Christin, when I'm in my patient office, a lot of times, of course, I ask, what supplements and vitamins do you take? And a triggering thing for me is like when the patient says, oh yeah, I take a multivitamin, I'll ask them like, okay, do you know what brand it is or kind of like where you got it? And they're like, oh, I think it's just one of those one a day off the shelf. And I'm always like, it's not like, I'm like, that's not terrible. But then I'm a little excited because I also know, gosh, I can really help you to do better in this area, because
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the one a day is not terrible. It's just that we know that like it probably just isn't absorbed as well, and the quality of it isn't as good. So like you said, there's certainly a lot of companies out there that are trying to do a really great job, but we really respect that you have taken the time to really think about the ingredients and the quality of those ingredients. So I'm kind of curious, Christin, like from the starting point for yourself, like, were you feeling even in your own body? And I know obviously you've had lots of babies, so we often think of having children as almost like nutrient depleting, like we're making human beings. So they're like sucking out the nutrients from our body is kind of the way I think of it. But like, what were the like things that you were thinking about in terms of yourself and what you needed to basically make yourself feel like you could get those things that your body was craving?
I love this question because part of that answer is that I didn't necessarily know that what I was experiencing wasn't normal. So I'll give you a little bit of background. My husband and I were actually wedding photographers for 15 years. That was our business. And just about 3 to 4 years ago, my husband's dad, who is in the supplement industry, basically came to him and said, "Hey, I know you guys are kind of looking to get out of wedding photography. I would love for you to come work for me at my supplement business." He was on the business to business end. And he said, "But I do not feel that companies are having integrity in what they're putting in their supplements, what they're communicating to their customers, third-party testing. A lot of this stuff they don't have to do, and so they're not doing it. Or they're communicating a partial truth, like magnesium glycinate. Oh yeah, it's magnesium glycinate. Oh, but he's the one who's selling it to them, and it's half magnesium oxide." And so things like that, he said, "I really think you guys could come in, do something different, have integrity, build a beautiful brand that women love that want it." So it was really actually my father-in-law's idea. So once that started, we started the whole process, the long process of meeting with a formulator who's a scientist who literally his job is to just sit there and read the most recent research constantly. So he's constantly up on the most recent studies that have come out, which is why all of our formulations are kind of the most recent studies based on that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when I get into a few of the studies, and you'll go, "Whoa, that's a 2020 study. That's really recent." But we wanted to make sure we did that. Once I kind of started talking with him and even bringing up some of my ideas of, "Oh, I'd love to make a whole food vitamin. Oh, I took gummies for my prenatal vitamins." He sort of started educating me about, "Oh, do you know that this is how they make whole food vitamins, or this is what's in your gummy vitamins, or this is what's not in your gummy vitamins?" And at that point, that was kind of what flipped the switch for me. All of a sudden, I became just a research addict. I wanted to know everything. What's the most bioavailable form? Why are some companies putting this and not that? How come my gummy vitamin was able to be called an organic vitamin when now looking at it, the only thing that's organic in there is the sugar? And that just shows how much sugar is in there, because you have to have 90% of your product to be called organic. So it sent me down this whole rabbit trail. Then when I started taking our supplements, once we were formulated, once we had our first batch, and I started taking our supplements, all of a sudden I couldn't nap anymore. I used to have to nap every single day from 12 to 2 o'clock. When my babies napped, I napped. And it was my husband laughs because he's like, "I just thought, okay, maybe girls need that kind of thing." I honestly couldn't like keep on weight very well. There were several things that now looking back, I see so clearly as deficiencies. The napping probably was mostly just iron deficiency. And no matter what iron supplement I took, it did not work. And now that I know the difference between ferrous sulfate and ferrous bisglycinate, there is no reason anyone really should be taking ferrous sulfate. Ferrous bisglycinate is the most bioavailable, absorbable form. We have stories upon stories of women going, "I've been taking a prescription iron for 14 years and my levels have never changed. I've been on this for 2 months and my levels are perfect." And my doctor's going, "I don't know what you're doing, but just keep doing it." And so that I think was a big shift in my life, is realizing what I was experiencing I thought was normal, napping, not being able to get back to sleep at 2 a.m., all of these little things. Now I realize, wow, that was a easy fix, honestly. Now if I try to lay down, I can't, because I've got all my little afternoon energy. So I think that personal experience really has given me the confidence to communicate with people. you'll notice a difference within a few days, within a few weeks.
So I love hearing that because most women do believe we just need naps. And if we don't get a nap, we are the worst. The worst. And of course, there's seasons of life where life is just more exhausting, but it is very wonderful and very hopeful, hopefully, for our listeners to hear that if you are taking naps every day, or you're just so exhausted, or there's just a chronic feeling you have, obviously get your lab work done with your doctor, but you have like, foggy mind. Do you have fatigue all the time? Are you quick to anger? And then ask yourself, are you taking a good supplement? And what's your diet like? I mean, that's a whole other thing. But what kind of advice would you say or give to women, Christin, who go to the store, they find a supplement, and they find the supplement with the highest percentage of some of these vitamins? You see 2000% of vitamin A or 2000% of this and that vitamin. I'm thinking of Centrum. You think about like the Centrums at Walgreens or whatever else. I know my parents would take those. What advice would you give, and why are those percentages so high? And what would be a better thing to look for in regards to that percentage?
So this is a really kind of personal thing that I have experienced. I come from a very medical family. My brother's a surgeon, my sister's a nurse. And so for me coming in this, the research was very important, and research-backed supplements kept coming to my mind. What does the research say about women specifically? I want to see a study on women between this age and this age, or women who are breastfeeding. What does the research say about that? So I would say this is kind of twofold. One, they're putting in a huge percentage because they're not using the most bioavailable form. So they know that you are going to literally pee out 90% of that. And so they're going to put in a high amount so that you maybe get some of it. If you're using a bioavailable form that is research backed, you don't need 2000%. You really shouldn't go beyond 100%, especially because of what you just said, which is really our diet should be the 98%, and we're using supplements to fill in those gaps that just are not realistic to hit every single day in our diets. Or things that are really difficult to get from food, like iodine. So that would be the first thing. The second thing I would say is we have been very careful. There are even other good quality brands that will kind of go outside of the RDA or the recommended, percentage on certain vitamins. For us, we have always stuck with, we want to have a reason for every single dosage. So in our prenatal and our postnatal. In the prenatal, we've got 4,000 IUs of vitamin D. In the postnatal, we have 6,400. People ask us why the difference there? Well, because 4,000 is what has been studied and considered safe in pregnancy. The 6,400 was actually studied in breastfeeding women, and that little extra boost actually got to the baby through their breast milk. So those moms did not have to do those vitamin D drops that I never did anyways, because I felt weird about squeezing a little bottle into my baby's mouth. And that is like, okay, we've got a reason. There is a rhyme and a reason for every single number on that label versus just trying to go, oh, look how much we can fit in all of these capsules. It's like, no, we're giving you, we say this all the time, everything you need and nothing you don't. And I think that second part is just as important as the first part.
I'm so glad you said that about the vitamin D, Christin, because I was just talking about this with a patient who had a baby in her arms yesterday. And I was explaining that thankfully I was listening to Dr. Radio, Sirius XM Dr. Radio, and they had an expert, a pediatrician, talking about how if you just gave women, now the dose that she said was 10,000 IUs. So it's a little more than 6,400, but it's still what we would consider a higher dose vitamin D supplementation. And if you just did that for moms who are nursing, they would never need those drops. But the thing is most women didn't even know that their breast milk was deficient in vitamin D. Like, I can't even believe this. I didn't know this. I breastfed all my kids. Nobody told me to take vitamin D drops for my babies. And had I known that, I just would have supplemented my own body to make sure that my vitamin D was good enough to get to my baby. I mean, I just feel like, oh my gosh, this is another situation where women are not being given information that's so incredibly simple and that they can implement to really do what they just want to do, which is have healthy children and be healthy themselves. The other thing I want to bring up, Christin, because I was looking at your calcium supplement on your website, and I was so grateful because I was like, oh, I'm going to look at this calcium supplement because I was just telling a woman yesterday, again, a menopause woman, she's like, well, I'm taking calcium. And I'm like, well, is it that calcium kind of like Oscal or calcium citrate? So I'm like, I'm not really a big fan of that because it's not a bioavailable calcium. And oftentimes women are told to take so much calcium and they're literally depositing that calcium in places that they shouldn't deposit it. But I noticed that your calcium not only was a bioavailable, but it was also like reasonable. And you put it with K2, which we know the K2 vitamin shuttles the kind of calcium into the bone and it allows that kind of processing of the bone matrix. So I thought that was really awesome. I was looking at that as well. And so, yeah, if you want to say anything about, any specific particular vitamins that you love at We Heart Nutrition that you have found, you're like, this is something that we took from the market and we were like, this isn't being done well and we want to do it so much better.
A few things. So, love our bone support. It's brand new. We literally just launched it. And it's one of those ones that you're not going to get these reviews that are going, oh, I feel so much better. I have so much more energy, because that's not what it's for. It's for that long-term use, that long-term bone health. Honestly, women who are 40 and over really should be taking a bone support. You just hit the nail on the head with everything that you said. We specifically put in that K2 to direct it to the bones, not the arteries. And the D3 actually also helps the calcium to absorb the correct way. So it is truly the most bioavailable bone support that you can get, and it's plant-based. So whenever we're going into creating product, we're always thinking, again, what's the most recent research say? And how can we do something that is research backed, but also unique in some way? Something that it's difficult for people to find a plant-based calcium. And so as we talked about different options, what was the most bioavailable, all of that stuff, this formulation came into our inboxes and into our minds as we spoke with our formulator. And I am just so thankful to have the multiple eyes on it that says, this is what the research is. Here are some options. And Jacob and I, honestly, just going back and going, we want to do what is best. We don't care what the cost is. We don't care if it's a higher, if it cuts into our costs a little bit, or our profit, I guess. We want to do what is right always. So that's on bone support. On the postnatal, the doctor who said, oh, up to 10,000. The funny thing is, we see this all the time. The study specifically was 6,400 IUs is what they used. And so as a supplement creator, we're always going to stick to what the study actually showed, and let the doctors who are the ones dealing with patients, if they want to say, hey, I'm comfortable with you taking a little extra, then great, that person can add that vitamin D supplement. But we want people to come to our website and know every single number here is based on research. And I can show this to my doctor and they're going to be able to look at every single study and say, yes, okay, I agree with that. And yes, maybe they're going to let me do a little bit more than that, or they're comfortable with me adjusting this or that. But that's the biggest thing, is we want people to know that they can come to the website and trust that what they're finding, what they see is what they get, and that it's based on something. I would say, as far as a product that I'm kind of really proud of and excited about, and Jacob tells me I have to stop talking about it because we're going to sell out before we can get our next run, is Wholesome Balance. It is our new hormone formula. And I know we're probably going to talk about this a few times, but this formula, same thing. It was the same situation where we went to our formulator. We said, women are begging us, mostly, honestly, perimenopausal women are begging us for something to help with their hormones. And so as all we had to do was say that, and immediately our formulator starts going, oh, well, I just got a study on the saffron. I just got a study on this curcumin. You will be shocked by what the study said about, the zinc and we said, basically put together your perfect hormone formula for women at every age and stage. And if you don't think it can cover every age, we're fine having just a perimenopause hormone and then a postpartum hormone. And he said, no, the studies I have will cover so many bases. So he put together this formula for us, and it is by far our most expensive product to make because you have the saffron, because you have curcumin. The ginger is not too bad. You've got key B vitamins, zinc in there. And this formula, like I said, every single one is based on a different study. So the saffron is for mood support, and that was in a study. They actually did 14 milligrams of saffron morning and evening. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this on here, but it literally replaced people's anti-anxiety antidepressants. It had the same mood. It's a 2020 study. You can look it up yourself. Just look up Affron, which is the branded ingredient that we use. We use the exact same one that was used in the study. It's not just any saffron. It's a specific one, Affron. Look it up, 2020 study, Affron. You will be shocked that you don't have doctors handing out Affron in their offices. Curcumin, same thing, had huge help with anti-inflammatory. So this formula actually covers PMS, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and it is an incredible formula. If you even just take your list of ingredients, type in your stage of life, all the studies will come up on each one going, oh, this curcumin C3 complex helped with PMS for these 5 reasons. And the ginger helped for these 5 reasons. Ginger's great for gut health. So it's really an all-encompassing formula that I'm really proud of. And women are giving us reviews that just make my day. I've had cramps for, 10 years and debilitating, can't get off the couch. I just had my first cycle on this and I felt almost normal. Almost, not perfectly normal, but close to normal, which for someone who's on the couch and can't move that's a pretty incredible thing. Same thing with hot flashes. So that's one that I really recommend people try and just see what benefits they can get from it.
Okay, Christin, I was telling Teresa this yesterday. I measure my hormones with the Anito monitor, Anito, INITO. You can only use it for Apple phones, unfortunately, but I love it because I can kind of track my symptoms with my hormones and yada yada. Anyway, this last month I committed. I need to stay so consistent with my magnesium glycinate. I've been taking it on a very regular basis before it'd be more hit or miss. And then wholesome balance, I take that every day. And my progesterone level after ovulation was the highest it's ever been ever, which is good, like on its own. And I was just prescribed progesterone that I was going to start taking like right now, but I'm just going to see, like how my luteal phase ends up. I just want to see because it was the highest. I really think it's because of the wholesome balance meets the extra magnesium I'm taking.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
Part of my little hormone coming off of birth control. Even that's part of my regimen. If you can only commit to 2, those are the 2 that I recommend for hormone: magnesium glycinate and wholesome balance. Yes, if you can add in an omega-3, that's going to help hugely. Anti-inflammatory. If you can add in a women's multi, or depending on your age, if you're, in perimenopause and you're doing it more for those reasons, or postmenopause, the 40 plus women's multi. Yes, those are great. But if you can only do 2 for hormones, magnesium glycinate and wholesome balance are, I think, a game changer for so many different hormonal issues.
Oh yeah. It was crazy. And normally, again, my estradiol is higher. Like I kind of struggle with estrogen dominance, and it wasn't. I'm like, what?
Wow.
So I'm really excited to see what my next period will be like. Says no one ever but Jamie on the Hormone Genius podcast. I'm really excited for my period. I am. I'm gonna be like, is there going to be less heavy bleeding?
Yeah.
And everything's connected. We know that. We are cocktails we're more than cocktails, body, mind, spirit, but really it makes up so much. And I personally also have very low ferritin because I bleed so much, because I struggle with estrogen dominance, because my progesterone levels are low after ovulation. So I'm just hoping this will all kind of shake out in the wash. Okay. I wanted to mention something as you were talking about integrity. Integrity. That was one of the main things, Christin, that when we were talking on the phone before Hormone Genius partnered with We Heart Nutrition, because we want to make sure we really are mindful about who we partner with. It's not a light decision. That was one of the number one things I noticed about you and your husband and your company is the integrity. And I'm just really happy that you're on the podcast with us today.
Oh, we're so thankful to be a part with you guys and to be able to be sponsors, because same thing, we are very picky about who we want to affiliate with. And we love you guys. So thankful for all the work that you're doing. Every time I listen, I'm thinking women's lives are literally being changed. And even like I've got a 10-year-old, even the decisions that some of these women are making for their children, I think you guys would be shocked by the impact that this little podcast is making in your mind. Just this little thing. And it's like, no, that this is affecting so many people's lives. And there's going to be a lot of girls who don't get put on birth control unnecessarily because of the things that their moms heard on this podcast. So thank you guys.
Thanks so much for saying that. I was just at this first ever MAHA Institute panel on women's health and fertility. And one of the things that I brought up was that when we're educating people on the Hormone Genius, we're educating the past generation and the future generations. Like when I'm sitting in my office with a 40-year-old woman and her 15-year-old daughter, it's not that I'm just educating the 15-year-old daughter about her menstrual cycle and cervical mucus. I'm looking at the 40-year-old woman and going, you never learned this either. And so it is crazy. We're educating 2 generations of people, maybe 3 in a sense. I mean, the last talk I gave, I had 70 and 80-year-old women come up to me because it was a big church kind of a group. And they were like thanking me for giving them the information that they had never heard before as 80-year-old women. And I think like one of the things you said, Christin, was that like your mom didn't share this information with you either, and neither did mine. And I don't blame them. It wasn't like they were given it by their parents either. So it's just been so inspiring to see this new movement and enlightenment of educating women in their bodies and really like sharing their identity with them. Like, again, this is about women's self-worth. Like it's about who they are. And if you don't know how your body works, like you don't have an integration with who you are. And I just think it's so important. So thank you so much for saying that. But is there anything you want to say just about like, yeah, you're growing up, like, and kind of how that has really inspired you to really want to bring this to your daughters?
Absolutely. If I made a list of things about my mom and there were 100 things on the list, 99 of them would be perfect. She was the sweetest mom, so fun, best little party planner, taught me about God, like all of the things. She was literally the best, the calmest mom ever. I want to be like her in so many ways. My one negative would be zero conversations about hormones, I didn't even get a talk. She never talked to me about anything, a period, nothing. Our school did, some video about it when I was in 4th grade. So I had some concept, but literally only based on that. This is kind of random, but yesterday we were driving in the car and I'm sitting in the front seat. My husband was driving and I'm literally trying to pull one little chin hair out of my chin. And I'm like trying to get it in the mirror. And my husband's like, what are you doing? And like, I have a memory of my mom growing up, riding in the back, my mom trying to pluck a chin hair in the mirror. And I thought, this is so full circle. So I turned around to my kids and I said, guess what, girls? Someday when your hormones are a little bit crazy, you're going to get one chin hair and it's going to grow you're going to pull it one day and then it's going to be back the next day. And even just using the word hormone was not a thing. My mom is so sweet and so like, she doesn't want to use the word hormone. We don't use the word period. We don't talk about that kind of stuff. And I just am excited to do things differently with my girls, even with my boys in the back. They're probably like going to go to school now and say hormone. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. That's a normal thing to talk about. And then sure enough, last night, we were sitting in the girls' room just chatting, and one of my girls brought up something, about hormones. And I thought, I love this. When I was their age, I would not have felt comfortable bringing up anything just because it wasn't a conversation in my home. And so, yes, we want to, be modest with our language and tactful about, we don't have to talk about everything with everyone, but I'm your mommy. You can talk to me about anything. You can ask me any questions about anything that's going on in your body. If you hear a word from a friend, you can ask me about it. I want you to come to me with that kind of stuff. So I think as kind of the in-between generation, I'm 36 years old. A lot of us are learning that and doing things a little bit differently and going, we want our girls to know about their bodies and their emotions, and that they're going to have hormones their whole life. It's going to be something they have to deal with their whole life. And we're not just going to get Band-Aids and put them on. We're going to address each issue as it comes up from a core level.
Totally. One of the episodes we did in season 1, people still bringing it up. It's our hormone superpowers. Growing up, we would hear about how annoying our hormones are or moody and that woman's just being hormonal, that whole kind of thought behind women and their emotions. We blame it on our hormones, right? But if I had known when I was young that actually, no, there's like this other side of hormones that make us so uniquely us and women, we're more creative and more energized when we're about to ovulate. And after we ovulate, we're more detail oriented and calm. So there's just so many beautiful aspects of our hormones that we can leverage for our professional life, for our life at home, for our spiritual life, even. It's like just a beautiful inside scoop to this very often mysterious seeming, but it's like we're cracking a code in some way. And it's very empowering. It's very empowering. Christin, this has been a delight. This is so fun. You are so fun. You're just so fun. And I'm so glad you talked about the chin hair thing because I was on mute, but I was laughing very hard because I can also recall my mother doing the same thing. Especially in the car. It's always in the car.
Yeah. Oh, in the
always.
Where you catch the glimpse, the light comes through. You're like, there he is.
Yeah, kind of rubbing around the chin. I mean, that's so funny. But as we're going to start wrapping up here, I'm going to ask you our last question, and then Teresa will also ask about how people can learn more. And of course, our listeners know that there is a discount that you get by purchasing We Heart Nutrition supplements. So we'll be sure to share that at the end. But Christin, what do you wish every woman knew about her hormone genius?
You just touched on it a little bit, which is our hormones affect every area of our lives for our entire lives. So it is worth getting to know ourselves, getting to know our hormones, getting to know how we should feel, getting comfortable doing the research and listening to podcasts like yours. I know it can feel overwhelming and like there's so much information, but I do think if we hone in on here are my few issues that I am facing at this time, where could those be coming from? Kind of troubleshoot diet, sleep, supplements, energy, our exercise, all of the things that play a part in that. Troubleshoot it and go, I'm going to learn this now so that I can live a life, and things are going to change. Even for me, I know that I'm naive at 36 years old to what's to come in the future. I've my mom, as we've had more conversations in the past years, I've learned a little more of what her even menopausal experience was and that sort of thing. I know that I'm going to learn more things and face more trials in this area. Even my hormone genius, your hormone genius, is that if we learn, we know how we feel. And we can troubleshoot like, okay, this is what I was feeling this way. Now I feel this way. What can I do to adjust that? What might be causing that? And I think there's a lot of power in that. And then finally, you mentioned spiritually, having a theology of the body and that like God created this body. And yes, there are things that are going to be challenges and my body's not perfect. I'm not going to say that it's perfect, but he created me in this body. So I want to take care of it. And I can trust that, that it's worth putting the work in, figuring out my hormones, figuring out what works for me, as far as what we just said, diet, exercise, all of that. And just trusting him that it's a good design, and that it's good to be a woman and so special in so many ways, like you said.
So good, Christin. Thank you so much again for being here. And I also want you to just tell people like, what's the best place to start with just getting to know We Heart Nutrition? And we know that, of course, Hormone Genius, we have a code. It's Genius, just that word Genius for 20% off. But give us just a kind of rundown on like how ladies just get in there and figure out what's going to be best for them and what you offer at We Heart Nutrition.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a very short quiz. It literally takes 30 seconds to take our little quiz at the top of our website. Just go through, fill out a few questions. If you have any specific questions, email us. That's the best part about dealing with a small family business. When you email us, it comes to my husband. It comes to me, my assistant. If it's a very technical question, he'll actually send it to me and have me sort of be the one to respond. But we get questions all the time. Happy to answer anything. I would take the quiz. If it recommends to you 4 products and you're going, I really am just getting into this supplement thing, I can really just commit to 2. Troubleshoot your top issues. Is it sleep? Is it period cramps? Is it heavy bleeding? Like, what is it? And reach out, ask us, say, hey, these are my issues. What are the 2 that I should get on if you can only commit to 2? Most people, if we're talking about hormone focus, I'm going to recommend Wholesome Balance and magnesium glycinate, just because if you're hormone focused, those 2 are going to help in so many different areas.
All right, there you have it. Christin Willis, We Heart Nutrition. We are so grateful for you as our podcast sponsor and so grateful that you spent time for us today. Everybody go check it out. We will put all the information in our show notes and hopefully we'll do this again soon. It was so much fun.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for all the work that you do.
Thanks for listening to the Hormone Genius Podcast. Please remember to share our podcast with your friends and family, and also follow us on social media. If you were not aware, we have a YouTube channel, so if you could like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, we would appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support. We are excited to journey alongside you as you discover the beauty and the genius of your hormones.